Hey everyone, Zoran Solano here from Hot Property in Brisbane and the Your Empire team. I'm joined today by Chris Gray from Your Empire in Sydney and Lauren Staley from Infolio Advisors and also the Your Empire brand in the Melbourne market. Team, thank you very much for joining me. Spring has sprung and the market is moving. Things are happening. How are you guys going?
I'll leave it to you, Chris. It's probably a happier story than mine.
Well, look, Sydney is pretty much the same. It's hard to create this news all the time because especially when we're talking about investing, it's such a stable market all the time. There's never any stock. There's still plenty of people in there. There's always people trying to time the market, which we've talked about for decades, that they're wasting their time. And the market keeps plodding up. We haven't got the core logic data numbers today because it's literally is the 1st of October. But again, whatever the figures say, in the prime markets, it's still ticking along. There's still lots of activity. There's still lots of buyers out there. And there's limited stock that meets the brief.
Yeah, Lauren, tell us what's happening with your market.
Look, as I said, we haven't had a phenomenal September. We just have little stock available to buy. All of our deals seem to be really, really hard to pull together. Vendors are high, buyers are coming in low. I would say for me, in our market, this is probably one of the toughest markets I've experienced in 25 years of doing the job. There's opportunity out there, but everyone's looking at it through the wrong lenses, so vendors are sitting there saying, well, look, we're going to wait until next year and hopefully get more money once there's a bit more confidence back with interest rates. And buyers are saying, well, I only want to buy cheap. We do a lot of home buying, which is making it difficult. Our investment grade stock, there's just not enough of it around that we would buy. There's lots of really crappy properties on the market, and the properties that are being sold are lowering our median value because they're units and apartments. So the data looks really skewed to what's actually going on out in there, but I think it's tough. It's tough in Melbourne.
Yeah, for sure. I think here in Brisbane and I guess Southeast Queensland is a more general market. As we always say, there are markets within markets, but the general consensus has been that over the last 2 or 3 months, we are seeing a slight decline week on week of open for inspection attendance by buyers. And that's translating to slightly less buyer activity in options and multiple offer situations or private treaties where usually you might see 7 or 8 offers, you might only getting sort of 1 or 2 or 3. Now, it may not sound like much, but we are seeing that it creates a little bit of a gap where buyers have an opportunity to pounce. We recently pounced on one on the Gold Coast. We missed out in the multiple offer situation when it was first launched online, sold within 3 days. Our offer was not quite at the level of another buyer, and their terms, while it appeared to be cleaner, the buyers actually terminated that contract under finance. And so all of a sudden we became the next buyer in line and were able to secure the property below the previous contract amount for our clients. So there are these little signs of buyer fatigue and also sort of, I guess, a little bit of a lack of confidence. But I guess on the confidence side of things, Chris, you want to talk about something today I think dramatically affects buyer confidence as soon as politicians open their mouth. Talk about negative gearing, mate. What are you thinking there?
And again, look, part of this is the story of the media. So I've been away for a month. I came back to Australia and the media were talking about this negative gearing now and about removing it and if Labor were going there. And you can see the way media ask the questions. And so the politicians were saying, look, we ask Treasury all the time to come up with different scenarios of stuff. So there wasn't even any news there, but they keep drilling into it. And I'm actually glad that it died within a few days because I thought this is going to carry on for months. And that really does affect the confidence and they create a story about nothing. Yeah. But literally, they couldn't answer the question. I mean, politicians don't answer the question anyway, which we all know. But they were saying, look, this is normal. We're always looking at it. It's not on the agenda or anything like that. But the media kept plugging and plugging and plugging for days and days. And they're just trying to get any little segment they can do to highlight for Current Affair or any of those kind of shows. And look, I'm just glad it died the death. But again, it's always going to be there. If you're investing for tax purposes, that's not the right reason. You're investing because you think $1 million property in a given amount of time is going to double to 2 million. Whether you get the tax deduction or not, it's a bonus. It's not the reason to invest. And again, is what they were doing last time when they talk about taking it out is they were going to grandfather it, which meant that if you already had a property, you'd be okay. And so what did people do? The logical thing was buy now before the election, because then it's going to be grandfathered. You're going to still get the deduction. But of course, no one does. They wait till the election to buy afterwards when they wouldn't have got it. So I always thought investors think logically, and me being an accountant, I'm very logical. People don't. They just do whatever they feel like, whatever the whim is.
Whenever they feel like it.
Whatever their mates are thinking, and it doesn't make any sense, which is why it's frustrating as us as buyers agents, just like Lauren was saying before, is you see a good property, it's at the right price, go and buy it. If you're trying to buy it for the cheapest possible price, you're going to be waiting for 50 years and it's still not going to happen.
Absolutely. Actually, I just want to digress on something that has come to my mind that I think is quite interesting for people to listen to in Melbourne, because agents are dealing with considerably less stock than they would normally at this time of year, and certainly considerably less A-grade stock. We're seeing quite a few of the old tricks come out in relation to trying to get buyers up on price. And I had a scenario recently this week where there was a property that was put to us. We were told that the range was 3.5 to 3.8 or 3.6 to 3.8 or something like that. Said to the agent, is that what it's worth, or is that what you're taking it out to the market? That's the quote. What he wanted was offers in excess of 4 million to get it off the market beforehand. Anyway, I take a buyer through the property. We've got some interest in it, but we're not at 4 million. I say to the agent, look, we're at this level and we can give you a 30-day settlement, really clean, really good offer. And he says to me, I've got 2 other offers. One of them's at 4 million on the same terms. So I just emailed him and said, we're out, we're done. Anyway, of course, that offer didn't exist. Properties now hit the open market. So you've got to be really, really careful at the moment, I think, particularly in Melbourne, because this sort of stuff doesn't usually happen. When you're in a really busy, buoyant market with lots of stock, agents are transactional and they're trying to do what they have to do just to get deals done. And you have transparency because there's a number of people on it. I couldn't believe how blatantly this was lied to in order to try and get me to pay a high price. And of course, it ended up in his fly in his face because he hasn't sold it and the offer didn't exist.
Does not surprise me. I know a real estate agent here in Brisbane who carries around a false contract with a number that he wants to be that number so he can flash it. He just goes, look, can't show you the whole thing, but just there.
That's so bad.
We've got it on contract.
It's everywhere.
It's like, mate, you did the same thing last month and the month before and the month before.
Yeah.
So they might have to update their dialogue as the market changes.
That's right.
Yeah. But again, that's the difference between, I guess, a punter off the street seeing that for the first time and you seeing it multiple times, month in, month out. Because the average punter, they're going to believe it and they're going to pay more money.
And pay above 4 million and probably put themselves under pressure to settle on a period of time which they just don't have the capability to. So it's well, that's where buyer beware comes in, but being careful about these situations because I could see straight through it.
I'm also seeing here in Queensland a push towards auctions. I guess as we're seeing a potential contract fall over due to finance and those sort of things, sellers and selling agents are looking for that unconditional result under the hammer on the day, and so they're pushing towards that auction format as well. I was recently in a sales meeting of a auction heavy agency, and that's they're really pushing for those sort of sales methods in order to maximize those volume of transactions and unconditional sales. So buyers need to be really prepared that this spring selling season you might see more auctions here in Queensland than you historically have, just because of the way the market is shifting and changing.
And also one of the other things that we were just discussing, we did our CPD training on Friday, which is obviously every professional, whether you're accountant, lawyer, doctor, you've got to do educational training. And they said the ACCC, so effectively the Office of Fair Trading, was talking about list, reduce, and then sell. And so what that basically means is where a property is worth, say, $1 million, to the vendor, they say that's 1.1 million. And so they call it buying the listing. People who are selling the property will go with the agent that lists the highest amount because they just believe that they're going to go and do it through their database. They're then telling all the buyers that it's maybe 900 grand.
Yeah.
And so that's what's underquoting.
Yes.
And so then what they're trying to do is effectively meet in the middle. But the ACCC are finding that the amount of agents that will put, say, 1.1 on an agency agreement, but will then be actually selling it for, say, $1 million later, they're trying to cut that down because obviously they don't want the vendors to be overquoted. They don't want the buyers to be underquoted. And if they suddenly see that happening and the agent lists 50 properties a year and it happens in every single one by substantial amounts of money, they can obviously see a trend. And supposedly they're really cutting down on this now, and the fines for the agents can be massive. And probably the bigger agent you are, the more likely you are going to be a target because they want to try and make media news on those kind of things. But look, this stuff's been around for donkey's years, and I'm sure nothing's really going to change.
No. Well, it's again, but we're doing your research and understanding the values of a property. I mean, it's all good and well for us to sit there and be annoyed at an agent because it was quoted at X and it's sold for Y. But, blind Freddie can see most of the time what these properties are worth. But psychologically, the buyer tries to believe that they can buy it for the price that it's quoted to, or maybe with 10% more. Do your research and you'll ultimately know what the real figures are going to land at. There's always outlier results, though. So it's being able to delineate between the two.
Exactly. Any final considerations, final thoughts?
Well, from our side is basically you've got about a month left for new listings, because typically a listing process is around 4 weeks. So say if they listed on the 1st of November, so roughly a month's time, that's going to mean the campaign will run for the whole of November. Just in case it doesn't sell at auction, they then need a couple of weeks in December to be able to close the sale. And of course, the agents want to disappear on their European holidays as quick as they can in December, and it gets earlier and earlier. So basically, most properties that are going to be listed for 2024 is going to happen in the next 4 weeks. Now, there's always deals to be done on Christmas Eve, on the 3rd of January, when suddenly everyone's away. But I wouldn't be relying on that. If you want to get into a property this year, you need to get your affairs in order and get onto it straight away.
Yeah, good advice. Here,
for sure.
I agree.
I think here in Brisbane, obviously, as I said, I think we're going to see some more auctions, but private treaty is definitely the main method of sale, and we often see some of those great deals in that month of December. But I definitely agree. Get your ducks in order. You'll blink and you'll be in February, and then you'll be thinking tax time June, July next year, and you should have bought that investment property to get some tax benefit or whatever it might have been. So definitely get stuff in motion now and start that search to secure something. January is also a peak rental time here in Queensland. So investors, to secure something this side of Christmas, settling in the new year, is also potentially really beneficial as well. So,
and just in case you've been looking at Dubai, I've just came back from Dubai at a conference. Every single person is talking about a market crash in Dubai, that it's overinflated. There is so much land there that you can build on right in front of your neighbours. So if you're waterfront doesn't mean anything in Dubai. You can then have waterfront, because they'll create some land and build on it. It's scary. So if you think Sydney property is expensive, go to Dubai.
Love it.
You heard it first, people. The Dubai market intel on the Your Empire channel here. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us for the month in review. Chris Gray from Your Empire in Sydney, Lawrence Staley from Infolio and Your Empire in Melbourne, and obviously myself, Zoran Solano from Hot Property Buyers Agency and Your Empire here in Brisbane. If you need any assistance with buying, selling, renovating, property management, we are your team. So drop us a line. Thank you and see you next month.